Day 7 came the same way that the other 6 days have come. The light coming in with a bunch of creepy music. It's hard to believe that I've already been here for a complete week now. I was wondering how many emails I had, and how many notifications I'd have on Facebook next time I logged on. Oh, and all those YouTube videos I'd have to watch now. I can hardly imagine how many videos my subscribers uploaded in a week. Well, that's scary to think about. So, after spontaneously generating some corn and gathering some seeds, I began to head out for another day of adventure. I had to get a lot more materials today. I was starting to run low on basically everything. I was out of sticks, and I was running low on logs, and I needed more logs for what I wanted to build, because I wanted to get a chest and some armor, hopefully. Oh, and also I was completely out of food, so I needed that as well. I started off by gathering some sticks that I had found just outside the base. They weren't part of my stick farm because the stick farm hadn't grown yet. I also gathered some grass. I probably should have gathered these sticks for the stick farm as well, but I didn't think about it. Oh well. They'll still be here when I need them. So after gathering some sticks, I managed to craft another axe, when I then began the ability to chop trees. Continuing my rhythmic pattern of chopping trees, I took down quite a couple of them, gathering all the logs that I'd need. It was in this tree chopping time that I began to think back to my old life, back when I had electricity and toilet paper, and actually had to use the bathroom. Kind of reminded me of a time when I was a little kid as well. That one time when I discovered that if you stick your tongue in an active toaster, you find yourself teleported to the hospital. Granted, a lot of time passes in between now and then, and also the recovery is a little rough on you. You can't taste anything for a couple months as well. Oh, and you smell like toast too. Well, other than that, it was a perfectly flawless system. I was really planning on showing the world my teleportation abilities, however I never actually got around to it. Maybe if I ever get back to society, I'll do it again. But for the meantime, I'm just collecting logs. Took down quite a number of trees, and also began to collect some pine cones as well, figuring that I'd have to replant some of the forest. I figured nature is keeping me alive, I might as well do the same favor for her. A couple more chops as I began to run out of life on my axe, but figured I'd use it all to the fullest before I headed home to do my building. And with a couple swings, my axe was gone, and I had plenty of logs. More than I could carry in a single stack, that's for sure. Began to head back north and collect another sapling on my way back to the base, and also began to replant some trees. But at this point, I remembered that I had my shovel. I figured I could dig up all these stumps and get even more logs. Bonus! So, I planted 2 more saplings, and began to dig up all the stumps. Now, in reality, I feel like this would be a lot harder than it is when I'm here. However, then again, I guess this is kind of reality, seeing as I am kind of stuck here. Either way, digging up stumps is much easier here than I'd expect it to be. Maybe that's just me, or maybe that's just the magic of this strange world that I've landed in. So, after gathering all those, I had over a stack and a half of logs in my pocket. How I managed to fit full-out trees in my pants, I don't know. However, there's much in this world that I do not yet understand. At this point, I began to head back to the base, figuring that I probably needed to get some more work done, and evening would be here soon. I knew that for sure. So I entered in my base and crossed through, heading to the farm. I put down some of the magic manure and grew some more corn, replanting the seeds and keeping the corn in my stomach. Headed towards the path where I kept my rabbit trap and collected that. Figured the trap was still good for a couple more rabbits, and I murdered the rabbit I got instantly. Headed north to find the beefaloes and to collect more of the magic manure. They stared at me funny, beginning to feel awkward that I came around so much to collect their manure. However, I had to stay alive, and if that's what I had to do it, so be it. I walked past Colonel as he was guarding his own piles of manure. I took them from him. He seemed to give me a funny look. You know, the funny look that he always gives me. But I was beginning to get used to their soulless gazes. Besides, now I had a bunch of manure, and I'd be able to do plenty of more farming and get a lot more food. And that was the important thing, I guess, you know? So I began to head back to the base now that it was actually going to be getting dark in a minute. Figured now I could probably make myself some food, do some other things, do my crafting, like I said I would, collect this piece of grass because I needed to wipe my hands off again. so on and so forth. Headed back into the base. First checked on my farms. I wanted to fertilize that one that was almost done, but I figured I'd wait, so I fertilized the one that had just started, instantly growing an eggplant. I'm sure once I get home I could show farmers this new farming technique, giving them the ability to grow things in a matter of seconds. And I mean, they taste just like the regular food. Or at least maybe to me. But hey, I'm no food connoisseur. I'm a scientist. So I put all the bits and bobs of food that I had in the crock pot and turned it on. The nice charcoal's slowly heating up my meal. I sat there for a minute, heading out of the base though, so I could check on a few things. I walked out past the base, heading east, and picked up a bit more grass, figuring that my hands still felt kind of dirty, and I could use more grass. So I figured I could probably use some ropes for the armor that I was going to make, or something to hold up my armor together, you know? After that, I headed back to the base, seeing that it would be getting dark pretty soon. Walked into base and headed to the crock pot, only to find that the gnome god had allowed me some meatballs. I ate them up right away, and they were very yummy. I then put a log on the fire, followed by a second, and now I had a bit of warmth for me, and some light for the night. Began to craft some rope, figuring that I'd need a couple pieces of it, and then I crafted my log suit. Bada bing! Inspiration. I now had proper defenses, and now I was going to start work on my chest. I made a couple of boards, and then crafted a nice, sturdy wooden box. I placed it a nice safe distance away from my fire, not my father. Although I probably would keep it a safe distance from my father, because he had a distinct dislike of boxes. I stored my beard in there, as well as the leftover charcoal. And I slowly searched through my inventory, thinking of different things I could store in there. I stored the marble suit, figuring now that I had the log suit, I didn't really need the marble suit until I actually felt like needing it. I decided to keep the walking cane with me, and I put the one piece of gold I had in there. After that, I just kind of reorganized my inventory, remembering now that I have horrible OCD, and haven't taken my medication in over a week. So I sorted all the tools together, and sorted the food stuff together. I then planned out my next expedition for tomorrow. I figured I'd head west to this area, and do some exploring. See what I can find. And hopefully get food, because once again, I had none. I waited the night out, wondering what tomorrow would behold. Maybe I'd find more of those evil birds down there, and they'd finally kill me. But I wouldn't let that happen, because I had a log suit. And also the protection of the gnome god. I looked over at Gnome God. He was just kind of chilling there in the half-shadows. I stared at him, watching the shadows slowly overlap his body, engulfing him to the darkness. It's kind of a scary moment, but I knew he was still there, so I wasn't too worried. I mean, I'm not that paranoid, right? You don't think I'm paranoid, do you? Oh gosh, hope not. Anyways, I headed west. Yeah, headed west to do my exploring. And I followed the path there, seeing as the path's probably connected. Although I did stray from the path for a quick minute to grab more manure. Because, I mean, why not? I guess I was really getting the hang of it. You know, at first I thought it was disgusting, but, you know, now it's not that bad, I guess. The path would loop around somewhere around here, and then I'd be in new territory. Found some seeds on the ground and figured I could definitely use those for my farming, so I collected those right away. Found another path, which I presume was connected to the other path and just snaked around. And I was right. Found a sapling, so I picked it, figuring that at least this trip wasn't for nothing. I also found a berry bush. Yippee! I had food again. I then found myself at a desert, in the grasslands area, and found a lot more grass, as well as some nice rabbit hunting area. I followed along the coastline, only to find that this area of the land was just slowly enclosing itself. Not too big of a deal, really, but, you know, it would have been nice to have found something interesting. So I headed north to see what I could find up there. Found more grass and decided to pick one of them, because I felt like it, because YOLO. I also found one rock. It looked like a lonely rock, so I didn't feel like killing it. I mean, no sense killing a lonely rock. I mean, really, have some morals. I also found the giant butt sticking out of the ground, although when I opened it up, I found that the butt had teeth. I felt like jumping into it, but at the same time I was a little uneasy about that, so I continued to heading north. I found one of those little spider nests. I felt brave because I had the log suit now. So I took out my spear and my log suit and got the spider out. I attacked him, and 2 more came out to join him. One of them hit me. I didn't like that, so I killed him. And then I attacked their base. No one seemed to be coming out to stop me, so I figured I'd kill them all. And then the nest was gone, and the ground somehow disappeared. I picked up my backpack. I had gathered a couple of new materials in that fight, which was nice. I had acquired what appeared to be one of the glands of the spiders, which I suppose I could use for some nice bandage wrappings or something. And also, I found pieces of what I'd like to call monster meat. Basically, it's just a huge hunk of the spider I managed to salvage from its mangled body. But, I figured I could use it as food, I guess. I mean, it was unnaturally purple and covered in hair. But other than that, it could work as food. I mean, I really don't even like touching it, but if push comes to absolute shove, I suppose if I really had, I guess I could eat this, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But, I was actually thinking maybe this monster meat would be like tofu in a bit. Maybe I could combine it with other stuff in the crock pot, and maybe it would just completely blend in and just be for protein or something, it's like those weird people who add spinach to their smoothies, even though it's like a fruit smoothie, and they add spinach to it for some reason. Don't know why they do that, but I'm presuming it's for that reason. I found an eggplant at my base. That got my mind off of the thought of spinach, because eggplant is not spinach. Even though I'm pretty sure eggplant has more of a vegetable taste than spinach does. I mean, you can't really even taste spinach. I mean, like, they put it in salads all the time, you can't even taste it. I mean, I remember every time I'd go to, like, get a sandwich at, like, a sub-store or anything, I'd definitely, like, get spinach onto it. 'Cause, I mean, it's good for you, and you can't even taste it. I mean, really. Anyways, I murdered a rabbit and then put it into the crock pot with basically everything else I had, crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. I then headed east again, heading north along the path and finding some seeds. Figured I could use these for farming. I was definitely running out. I slowly explored the northern area, happily taking my time gathering seeds. It's quite relaxing, though I thought I heard something in the distance, although I couldn't be sure. Presuming it was just the wind or maybe the birds or something. I wasn't too worried about it or anything. So I headed south. Then I heard something again. It sounded like growling. I'm pretty sure it wasn't from my stomach this time. Though I gathered some berries again, just in case. The noise kept happening. Just again and again. I feel like it was coming from really far away, but it was getting closer and louder and multiple noises, really. It's kind of starting to freak me out. I mean, I wasn't scared or anything. It was getting dark, so I headed home anyways. I mean, not like I was scared or anything. I mean, I took time to collect seeds, proving I wasn't scared of the noise or anything. Yeah. So I headed home, and, I got the meatballs. They looked good enough to eat, so I put in the monster meat and 3 sets of berries, hoping for the best on that one, too. The noise was still there, so I put on the log suit and stood behind the gnome god, figuring that, worst comes to worst, he'll protect me, right? I sat there in the silence, just listening to the noise. There's definitely something out there. I'm presuming it wasn't the crows. I ate the monster meat type meatballs. They were kind of nasty, but, I mean, they were okay. I mean, I did kind of just mash everything together and throw it into a magical pot, hoping for the best. I asked the gnome god if he heard what I was hearing. He didn't reply. Probably because he's made out of ceramics. The noise continued into the night. I swear I probably sat there for hours. I asked Gnome God again if he heard that. He didn't answer me again. He just kind of sat there like a boss. Then I heard running. All of a sudden this beast came into my camp. It creeped the heck out of me. And I stabbed it multiple times with the spear, and then a second one came and I stabbed it as well. And it died, but it bit me a few times. I got a few more pieces of the monster meat, so I presume they're related to spiders somehow. I started freaking out, and then I had a seizure. But then I felt better. After I'd calmed down for a bit, I harvested those meatballs again. I had a lot more food. Now I was happy again. So I put some logs on the fire and began to settle my nerves a bit. I went to the farm and got some corn before it got too dark. Chased away a crow. And everything seemed to be pretty normal again. I guess whatever happened there with those weird spider dog monster things was just a fluke and would definitely never happen again, right? Well, I hope so. I cooked up that monster meat again, figuring I could use it for cooking later. I also put the spider gland in the chest, seeing as I didn't think it was going to start deteriorating anytime soon. I then began to look at the map to see what I could do next. I probably wanted to head southeast now, do a bit more exploring. Food was slowly getting underway, but, I thought I could maybe collect a couple more berries as well while I'm out there. And maybe get another farm started. So, yeah. I've now been out here a week, and so far so good.